Well, welcome back everybody. So today we're going to talk a little bit about some camping tips for your dog and also some gear that you might want to take along with you. Now some of this is going to be specific to cattle dogs, but it's basically just overall tips for dogs in general when you're going camping. So my first tip is that you might not want to take your cattle dog camping. The reason I say this is because, you know, as all us healer parents know, our cattle dogs can be a bit protective. They've got a strong work drive or prey drive, whatever you want to call it, you know, so if they see a critter, that can be an issue potentially that they will try to bolt and go after it just to protect their spot. So I would definitely be cautious on the idea of taking your dog camping. Many cattle dogs do perfectly fine camping. Obviously, you've seen all three of mine do really well. You know, their protectiveness is wonderful, especially during camping. I mean, it can be a pro to camping with your cattle dog, but you definitely have to be alert with them. You have to pay attention. They're not the type of dog that you just leave to their own devices. I mean, not only is there critters trying to get into your campsite, there's also other people's children. There's other people in general. Now, thankfully, I've had nothing weird happen when people have entered my campsite. I still don't understand why people think that's okay sometimes because it's like, I paid for that spot, it's mine. But if your dog's struggling with like reactivity and things like that, I wouldn't suggest taking them camping until you can get that trained. So know your dog is all I'm saying. And one of the things I do personally with my cattle dogs is I don't book things when it's super busy. I don't go in the height of the season. I try to go at the very beginning or at the very end, mainly because I want the campground as empty as possible. You're taking them out of their normal routine and their normal environment at home, and that can be very stressful for any dog, and they have to adjust once you get to camp. So I always try to book my trips when it's less people, and I check maps ahead of time just to make sure that I have some sort of space potentially from other campers. My second tip, like with any training with your dog, would definitely be practice. So set up your tent in your backyard at home, practice with your dog, see how they respond to the tent if you're doing tent camping. Same goes if you have a camper or a trailer. Sometimes dogs can get fearful of new objects, you know, especially something as big as a tent or camper. It's something new and different, so definitely practice at home at first and then slowly start getting into camping. Like maybe start off with just one night camping, which I feel like is pointless. I feel like you need more than one night to have a good trip, but start off small, see how they do. And also when it comes to puppies, yes, we want to expose them to many new experiences, but definitely wait until they're fully vaccinated before you take them out into the woods. Which leads to my third tip. Make sure your pups are vaccinated. This is not even up for discussion in my opinion when it comes to taking your dog to the woods. Anytime you're going hiking or camping, please make sure your dogs are vaccinated. Rabies is still a thing. Like, I don't know why people think it's not. I know other countries don't have rabies, but in the US we still have rabies. It's still a thing. There's still crazy raccoons coming out during the day, you know, doing their rabid thing. So please make sure your dogs are up to date on their vaccinations. Also make sure they have their flea and tick preventative stuff, whatever you choose to use. And also their heartworm preventative is not a bad idea either, because in the woods, there's not only the ticks and the fleas, there is a ton of mosquitoes, and mosquitoes are the things that cause the heartworm disease. You don't want any of that. So please make sure your dogs are up to date on everything before you take them camping. And no matter what preventative you're using for flea and ticks, always check your dog when you come home from camping or even hiking. I've had times where like one little tick has been like, hey guys, I'm here, you know, and it just appears. It doesn't latch on to them or anything, but it's still, they can still travel on their fur and things like that. So definitely check them for fleas and ticks, for like, especially the ticks. You don't want your puppy getting Lyme disease. Definitely make sure you check under their collars, behind their ears, sometimes even on their paw pads. I've seen ticks when I was a groomer. So just check your dog all over in the weirdest spots, you know, like under their arms. You never know where those little buggers are going to be hiding. My fourth tip is to never leave your dog unattended. And I know that can be a little bit difficult when you're solo camping, like, you know, to use the bathroom or things like that. But definitely don't leave them on a tie out outside or by themselves in a crate outside. And definitely don't leave them in your tent, especially with the cattle dogs. I've heard stories of cattle dogs busting through tents, ripping them open. Now, granted, if you have a camper or a trailer, yes, you could probably leave your dog inside there perfectly fine. But I've even seen 2 cattle dogs bust through the camper doors. So just try to make it as secure as possible if you do have to leave your dog unattended. But definitely don't leave them in the car for long periods of time. That is a huge no-no. That's just like with your human babies. Don't leave the dog in the car. Like, if you have to, turn on the AC, lock it up, run to the bathroom, come back, and get them out of the car as soon as possible. My last trip with the boy, I had to leave him in the car a couple of times, and I made sure there was a portable fan going, a bowl of water next to him, and I booked my butt to the bathroom and ran back. Thankfully, we were very close to the bathroom. And even at one part of the day, I left the AC running for him because they can easily overheat in a car. Which leads me to my next tip, or I guess more of a discussion, is watch out for temperatures. Now, cattle dogs specifically have a double layered coat, and that double layer of fur actually helps regulate their body temperature. That doesn't mean that this dog is designed for all temperatures. And yes, I know someone's gonna holler, but they're from Australia. They can handle Australia heat. I can't tell you how many Australian cattle dogs from Australia videos and pictures I get sent of sitting in front of an AC unit. They can get affected by it too. Any dog has the capability of overheating. It doesn't matter what breed it is. And when you're going hiking and things like that with your dog, they won't stop. They will overdo it if you let them. So you really have to be mindful of the temperatures. Once it hits 85 degrees, you are at risk for heat stroke in your dog. And actually, even some dogs will start at 75 degrees. So my general rule of thumb is anything 75 to 85 is caution. If it's past 85, I'm not going out with my dog, period, because it's not worth the risk to me. So if you are taking your dog in warmer weather camping, definitely have plenty of water, definitely have shade tents, places for them to cool off. Make sure you're willing to hop in that car and turn on the AC, anything to keep them cool. Bring fans, portable ones or electric ones. Do whatever you can to make sure the dog is staying at a good temperature. You know, and some of the signs of heat stroke in dogs, you know, they'll be panting excessively, like they won't stop panting, like it's a constant thing. They won't take a break. They'll also get really red gums, like it'll be a bright red color in their mouths. Excessive drooling is another sign of overheating in dogs. Obviously confusion and like lethargy, you know, collapsing, vomiting, and diarrhea. Like once the more serious signs start happening, like it's going to be a hit and miss thing on getting them to the vet. So if you do see any signs, definitely get them to a cool place. Do not throw them in an ice bath. Just give them like shade, maybe some AC, slowly get their temperature back to normal, and offer them cool water. Not cold, but cool water, because you don't want to like shock their system back, because that can be damaging as well. You don't want to do extreme trying to get them cooled off, if that makes sense. You want to gradually get them back into a cooler temperature state. And even on the colder temperatures, 40 degrees is like my limit. So anything 40 degrees and under, I don't do. Now, grant you, when I took Silver camping the one time, we actually hit 19 degrees that night. She had a jacket on. She was perfectly fine. We weren't. But when me and Gypsy went one time, it got down to 45 degrees, and that poor girl was shivering so bad. Like, she was actually looked like she was going into some sort of like shock or whatever. So we had to move to the car and get her warmed up, and she was fine sleeping the rest of the night in the car. But Gypsy definitely cannot handle colder temperatures like that. So I feel like moving forward, maybe 50 degrees is going to be my limit. But this breed specifically is not going to be like Huskies and Malamutes and all that, to where they can handle colder temps. And again, if you have a camper and stuff, that's you'll be fine. You've got a heater in there, you know. Tip number 6 would definitely be beware of the water. So when I say that, I mean beware of you're letting your dogs drink large amounts of water out in the woods. And yes, we all love seeing our dogs play in the creek and play in the water and things like that, but you have to be very mindful of all the stuff they could potentially get. So I try to tell my dogs no drinking, you know, things like that. And I do let them drink once in a while if I feel like the water is clear enough, and also if the water is moving. There are certain algae out there that can actually kill your dog within an hour. There's some that will take 24 hours before it affects your dogs. I mean, there can be a lot of toxic crap in water. So if the water has been sitting for a while, you know, it's better to not go near it. In my opinion, we actually had a bacteria in one of our parks here that I take the dogs hiking to, where they actually put out a warning not to have your dogs go near that water, because dogs were actually becoming ill from it. You see like blue or green algae or like weird stuff, try to stay away from it. I mean, there's a lot of things dogs can get anyway, regardless of going into the water. You know, there's other dangers. They could potentially ingest something in the woods that can affect them too. So it's more of a word of caution. And I guess my final tip would definitely be not only make a packing list for yourself, but make sure you have a packing list going for your dog as well. The things I bring with me for my dogs is definitely obviously extra water, extra food, any treats or, you know, chew bones that they might want during the trip. And I always make sure I have a small pack in my actual hiking bag for them, because in case something would happen on the hike, I want to make sure I have extra water and food for them as well. Definitely bring like maybe their favorite blanket from home, a cooling mat, you know, their favorite dog bed, anything to make them comfortable and have some familiarity when they get to their campsite with you. There's also like elevated dog beds too that you can get for camping, which will help, you know, the bugs not crawl all over them and get them, because I notice when mine lay in the grass, they get a little extra visitors crawling through their fur. But my dogs also don't choose to use the elevated camping bed I got them, and heck, at this point they don't even use all the doggy travel beds that I brought for them. They prefer mommy's bed. I guess, you know, that definitely is familiar. It smells like home and mom, so that's what they choose usually. But I'm an overpacker. I always try to pack for every situation that could potentially happen. Not that anything bad has happened, but I want to be prepared just for worst case scenario. You know, some other things I bring with me is like their favorite toys, just to have another thing that's familiar to them, and plus it's also something to entertain them with. I also bring pet wipes because they roll in some nasty stuff, and I've definitely used plenty of dog pet wipes on my camping trips. I also bring an extra towel for them just in case it does rain. It obviously would help me dry off the dog before putting it into the tent with me. Definitely bring my poop bags because I am not rude and I don't leave poop at the campsite for the next camper. I definitely also bring a slicker brush with me and a flea and tick comb just in case I feel like they need to be brushed off. You know, a slicker brush is a nice way to just kind of brush off any dirt or any bugs that might have gotten onto them during the camping trip before we head home. And it might not be also a bad idea to get, you know, one of those tick removers, but you know, I've always done it just with tweezers. I've pulled so many ticks out of dogs from grooming. I have my way. I can do it with just tweezers, but I know that's not always the case for some people, but you gotta make sure you get that head out. Another thing I bring for my dogs, especially Gypsy, is Benadryl. Not only does mommy need it during the camping trip, she does too. You also might want to have a first aid kit specifically for your dog. They have specific bandage wraps you can get from Chewy in case something would happen. I do bring a couple of those things with me as well, just in case they do hurt their foot on climbing rocks, or just again, anything can happen. I want to be prepared for it all. I also bring a variety of leashes when I go camping with my dogs. I have my short leashes, my long leashes, my tie-out leashes, you know, just in case, you know, some leash would break, I have a backup type thing. And I know a lot of people keep asking about the leashes they see in my camping videos. They literally have one latch on each side of them, and I freaking love these leashes. Like, I have multiple ones at this point in different lengths. Am I saying that right today? And I've used them on an actual stake tie out in the ground. I've used them around trees. They're so versatile, and I've actually, you know, attached one latch to my pants and walked around with my dogs that way. Also wrapped it around my wrist and had them attached to me that way as well. So there's many ways you can use these leashes, but you got to find what's right for you. I can say one caution about the leashes I use. As much as I love them and I've had great success with them, do not relax when you have the leash attached to you and the dog. I started to get a little too relaxed and started closing my eyes during the campfire with Sully my last trip, and a trash panda showed up. He took off before I was awake and alert enough to grab the leash, and he took part of my pants with him when he went after the trash panda, and thankfully he recalled beautifully and did not keep going. Scared the crap out of me, so I went back to wrapping it around my wrist. But those are just my thoughts and tips about, you know, camping with your dog. And again, with your cattle dog, just use caution, common sense, stay alert with them, and the most important thing is just have fun and enjoy those moments with them camping, because it's some of the best memories that I'm creating with my crew. And yeah, I love watching them enjoy what I enjoy. But anyway, I hope that helps you guys out and answers questions that I've been getting lately about the camping. And that is it for today's video. So please remember to click like and subscribe and the notification bell button. Also share the video, whatever you want to do, make comments, help the algorithm, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care, everyone. Bye.